Hi everyone, I hope you've had a lovely Christmas. I'm going to recharge my batteries by getting out in the garden, and I'm going to weed and cut back the front border, which is outside the front wall of my house on a very busy main road, and I'm going to plant some wallflowers. So this bit of land outside the wall of my house, I don't even know whether we have the legal right to it, whether it is our piece of property. I don't think it is, but it's only about, I would say, 18 inches deep. And my neighbour won't mind me showing you his piece of ground. So ours just looked like that. It's just wasteland. The council would come along a couple of times a year and trim the weeds down. And then one year, not long after we moved in, which was 15 years ago now, I thought, right, I'm going to have that piece of land. And I dug all the grass out, and I started really filling it with plants that I was splitting in my garden that I didn't have room for in the garden itself. So this is one side of the border, and if you've already seen my how to make compost video, you'll notice that I cut back this big patch of Oxide Daisy there. This side isn't too bad. Got lots of bits of grass where the asphalt meets the border. I've got lots of weeds, so I weed along there. Some Archimilium mollis needs cutting back. This is a beautiful Verbena bonariensis, which I actually struggle to grow inside the garden wall, but this one seems to be loving it here. So I think I'll just take the sort of whippiness away. It really doesn't matter to your plants if you don't cut them back in the winter. In fact, for wildlife's sake, it's probably best you don't, that you leave it. But this is the public footpath along here, so I've already cut back some huge tall Crocosmia lucifer, which was falling over the path, because obviously you have people coming past with buggies, children on bikes, mobility scooters, things like that, and you don't want them getting all wet or these whippy leaves catching in the spokes of bikes. So I like to cut this back when I can, and get some wallflowers planted. So this is another big clump of Oxide Daisy that I'll cut back. These are wallflowers from last year, so they're still looking absolutely gorgeous. These here are gladioli. I tried growing these for the first time in this border. Come along. I've got a sedum, which I don't know, I might leave these heads. It just sort of gives a bit of, I'll come down this way, it gives a bit of sort of contrast colour wise. Got a lovely big poppy there. This is Monbretia. It's like a small Crocosmia. I'll show you how you can pull those weeds out. Now this here is Osteospermum, and my sister grows this in her garden, and it comes back every year, and it gets as big as those big clumps of Oxide Daisy down there. So I'm just going to cut him back. I've got some Begonia here. Again, you can sort of see the Linaria has sort of self-seeded into the asphalt, but I've got weeds there as well. This is a Hebe, which had a reprieve this year. It doesn't really do that much. I don't know. I might leave it. I might pull him out and put some lupins in there. Another patch of Oxide Daisy, which was cut back. Now this looks like grass, but it's not. It's a beautiful little pale blue short bulb that comes up in the spring. Wallflowers, some more sedum, and then this part here, I wish I'd videoed it actually. The Crocosmia, which would have stood up here, was right over the path, so that's all that's left there. I just sort of got a hold of the the big brown leaves and gave it a tug. If you tug Crocosmia and the bulb comes out, it's not ready. If you tug it and it just leaves like a sort of onion skin on the edge of the leaf, that's okay. This is Euphorbia. Some wallflowers, some more wallflowers there. I've already got bulbs coming. Move out my own shadow. I've already got bulbs coming up here. So once I start weeding, you can see all of the big brown patches of earth, which I love, because I can fill it up with plants. And I've got lots and lots of wallflowers that I germinated last spring. They've grown in pots in the greenhouse and then the cold frame all year long. So they are well and truly ready to go in. In fact, it's a bit late in the season to put them in, but they'll be fine. They're really tough wallflowers. Right, I'll get started. I've got my wheelbarrow with all my little wallflowers in that I've grown from seed. So nice healthy little plants there. Right, so this is a wallflower here, but this is grass and the soil is quite moist and soft, so I'm just going to give it a gentle tug, see if it'll come out. No, it won't. So you find the base of the clump of grass, give it a little lift with your fork or your trowel, shake the soil off, and that's your weed. Right, he goes in the trug. So you can see there, hopefully, all this wallflower is lovely and healthy, and the grass is actually in the middle there. It's very easy to dig out. We'll probably get interrupted many times by lovely neighbours and dog walkers going by. They always stop and ask about the border. And these wallflowers are going to be beautiful. Some people treat their wallflowers as annuals. If they haven't got much space, they can't keep them in the border all year round, but I do keep them in the border and I get years out of them. After 2 or 3 years, you'll find you get more leaf than you do flower, and that's the time to dig your wallflowers out and replace them with new. I just keep mine on a sort of rotational basis, and every year I put some new wallflowers in. Right, now this is a very sickly looking little lavender here. I'm just going to chop him right back there. I used to have some beautiful big lavenders in here, but they just got too big and leggy. We'll just see what happens. If he comes back, fine. If he doesn't, it's not the end of the world. Right. Get rid of these weeds. I never completely get rid of the roots. They come back, but I don't use any pesticides, weed killers in my garden. So I just have to dig them out. And if you dig them out in the winter like this, at least they stay away for a good length of time. So I've got plenty room to put these little wallflowers in. Just take any obvious weeds off the surface, because like I say, these have been grown in 9 centimetre pots all year. They've just been sitting in the cold frame. Now, so they've got a nice root system coming out the bottom there. They've also got a nice lot of little leaves coming up the stem there. So I don't think that's too bad. I'll show you some which have got really leggy, where there's a big tall stem with a few green leaves on the top. Then you would cut them right back down to here and they would just bush out. But I think these are going to be fine the way they are. So I'm just going to put some more, fill in this gap and put some more wallflowers in, taking out any weeds that you see on the way. Put lots around this area just in case this lavender doesn't make it. Now, what to do about him? So I think he gives a bit of much needed relief to the border, this silvery foliage. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the seed heads off, but I'm going to leave the bulk of the plant where he is. And then what I'll do is in the spring I'll come and I'll cut him hard back. When I know there's going to be no more frost, I'll cut him hard back. Just cut these dead bits out. Right, now this is a tall Linaria, but you see how straggly he's got there. So I'm going to cut all the straggliness off. And what I'm left with is sort of little upright leaves there. It's amazing how much pleasure this border gives to passers-by. Over the years, I've had lovely conversations with people where they say, "Oh, I love walking past this front border, seeing what's come up." Takes no looking after, really. 2 or 3 times a year, come out, put some new plants in, give it a bit weed. This plant here is Archimillia mollis. Comes up in the spring, beautiful. That's what the leaves look like, except they haven't got that brown on. And can you see the sort of dew, the raindrops catching on the leaf there? And it gets a frothy green flower like that. Absolutely beautiful, will last you all summer long. But when it gets to this time of year, he's not looking so great. So what you do is you cut it right the way back, right down, and then I'll show you as you cut. You can see the new leaves at the bottom, so you just be careful not to cut them off. I'll show you in a minute what we've got left. This is a gladiola. He's gone completely brown, so I can just give him a little pull, and you see he doesn't bring the bulb out, it's just the end of the stem, so that's out. Not sure what that is. If you tug anything and it doesn't come straight away, you can cut it off rather than pull. You might disrupt the whole plant there. Right, I'll just show you into the crown of the plant here. I'll show you what we've got. So these are all the new little fresh leaves here. See? And even more coming up there. And if you're just new to gardening, or you've just moved into a house with a new garden, and you're obviously not familiar with everything that's in, then I would just say you can sort of cut back a bit and tidy up, but don't pull anything out, because nothing looks at its best this time of year, and you might be pulling out a plant that you would have actually loved, and you won't know that until next year when it starts to grow. Obviously, if plants start to grow and you think, "Oh, I don't like that," then you can pull them out. But plants cost such a lot of money to buy, particularly if you're trying to buy sort of a well-established plant, maybe in a 2-litre pot or something. You know, you'll be paying about £15 a plant. So plants in your garden, almost priceless, worth a lot of money. And you get that immediate impact in the spring and summer next year because they are well established. Right, now what am I going to do with this Verbena bonariensis? This is one of my favourite plants. It grows really tall, can be about 5-6 foot tall. Gets a lovely purple flower on the top, and it's a fantastic pollinator. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it down to here where you've got a new stem coming out, just to sort of make it a bit more uniform. And also I live right on the coast here, so we get a lot of wind. And if you leave big whippy stems like this, the wind gets a hold of them. You'll get root rock. The whole plant will move around like that and rock the roots, and you'll get a weakened plant. So if you can take it down a bit, that's good. Take that down to there. And then here I've got a nice little compact lavender. Now this is a nice healthy looking one, but you don't want these flower heads on, so you just snip it right back like that. Give them a haircut, nice and short and bushy. That's what you want on your lavenders at this time of year. These are gladioli. So again, I can cut these right back because that is just all brown and dead now. All the food's gone back down into the bulb and fed it. So I can just snip that off there and there. When these bulbs grow next year, I'm definitely going to stake them. But they've obviously loved this sunny front border, which is west facing. Just tore one off. Here is a very early flowering true geranium, and he responds very well to a severe haircut. You just chop him right back. Gets a lovely little pink flower on. And there's some Archimillia mollis in here too. So anything like this, you don't have to be too precious about it. You just get in and chop. A good tidy up. That's it. It's a bit of my eucalyptus wreath off the front door. Just in case you haven't seen the composting one, so this is Oxide Daisy. It flowered 3 times out here this year. So it flowered the first time in early spring, and then we had torrential rain and storm, and the whole lot came over and lay on the pavement. So I cut it right back, right down, as far down as there, and it flowered again. And then I cut that back when it had finished, and lo and behold, this has been flowering right up. It was still flowering in November. I put the link out. I put a video out of hard-working plants that just keep flowering until the first frost. And this is one of them. Actually, these patches of Oxide Daisy have loved it so much. I think I'm going to have to thin them out next year. I don't know, I'll see. That's a good thing about the spring. You can just dig a patch up when the plant's growing and put it elsewhere in your garden. And it's free plants. So much of it. So there we go. I've refamiliarised myself with all the little plants that are in the border now, and I've plugged any gaps with some new wallflowers, and this really is a very pretty border, particularly in the spring. I just need to go and get a few more wallflowers for this area here, and then I'm done. So there we go. I've really enjoyed this hour I've had in the garden, and I would recommend it if you can get out into your garden. You don't need to be doing any work this time of year in it. Just take a cup of tea and have a wander around and see how many bulbs have already started to come up, or make your plans for what you're going to do next year. And I'm pretty sure if you're like me, that you'll feel better having just been out in the garden amongst the plants. So take care, and here's to a very healthy and happy 2024. Bye.